In the worlds before Monkey, primal chaos reigned. Heaven sought order, but the phoenix can fly only when its feathers are grown. The four worlds formed again and yet again, as endless eons wheeled and passed. Time and the pure essences of heaven, the moisture of the earth, the powers of the sun and the moon, all worked upon a certain rock old as creation. And it became magically fertile. That first egg was named Thought. Tathagata Buddha, the father Buddha, said, "With our thoughts, we make the world." Elemental forces caused the egg to hatch. From it then came a stone monkey. The nature of monkey was irrepressible.
Okay, Mike. I should call you Michael.
You know, it'll always be there. I feel like the Magic Mike name helps launch me a little bit, you know?
Yeah.
It's a lot of
100%.
history with it, a lot to it, a lot in depth. So I play off it if I need to.
Well, I support you playing off of it, A. B is that you were my second guest. Well, I put you there. You didn't know you were going to be, but you were my second guest on my show. So I gave you that place because I'll just tell you the truth, Michael, is that I misplaced your episode in a file and I mislabeled it. So I actually thought it was one of my Tantra episodes. So I didn't realize where your episode was. And then I was like cleaning it out, being like, how do I want to end the season? And I was like, you know, I have this episode that I did with Mike many moons ago, and it was really great. And you were really one of the first guests on my show, regardless of like how I Kabbalistic numbering. It was like you really were one of the first people I recorded with separately. And it was I just thought like, wow, that episode really stood up. It was like I totally liked it. I was like, wow, actually, even though I was super green, even though Mike was a kind of fresh,
I was green too.
Yeah, but we both it was listenable. It was totally good. And I was like, wow, actually we both did a good job. And I was like, okay. So this makes sense. And then what happened, Mike? You went on to
Well, yeah, and two is, you know, and it's perfect to bring it back to the beginning because the whole thing is the perfect circle, right? It all comes back. And then you kind of knew more than I did that I would be going other places. I mean, it all happened so naturally. I didn't expect to be a podcaster, really, you know. I had some knowledge, but, you know, the Space Force thing kind of shot me out there because the patches were so crazy, some posts online. And then before I knew it, I was on Lee's podcast, and then you reached out to me. But through that, I found a home, and we found a home with the Cult Rejects. I mean, I love what Nick's doing over there. The whole Wu-Tang Clan reference. I love that, man, because it is like music. Everybody's got their own thing, and then when you come together on an episode, it makes its own thing. You know what I mean? And yeah, it's been incredible. And I thank you for reaching out to me. And we're less green now. The knowledge always grows. You know, the mic time adds up, and it's good to be back.
I mean, it is. I actually did take a break. You don't really know this, but you know, there were things that happened, obviously, over the last few months. It was a rough beginning to the year of the snake. But, you know, I knew you and I were going to record again. Obviously, we've never worked together as rejects. So actually, we did once. I think we did once.
Yeah, we went on.
We went on once, right?
Yeah, we jammed once.
So I knew it was always going to come back. And so even the perfect circle, although that was definitely like my like aging hipster millennial like indie band.
Yeah, I dug them too, man.
So
13 still.
that's right. So yeah, so it was the perfect thing. And then obviously I know you love you're very schooled, at least in the Freemasonic hand symbolism. So at least I thought that's the perfect.
Right. It means a perfect circle.
And then you also talked about it in your episode, how you make a circle. So
yeah. Yeah, the ring, and that's, as we did that episode, like a flash of knowledge, the ring and the pole, 0 and 1, the computations of it all, male and female, left and right, the hermetics to that whole thing. And the 0 is the hidden one, so it really is full circle.
There's something electric. There's something plus ultra. There's something very magical about podcasting. And even before recording, I was saying to you, like you said something quite profound, and how we all kind of, it's not taking each other's work or taking each other's ideas, but there's kind of like a way in which that we are synergistic with each other. And Robbie is a big part of that. I know for you, and then for me personally, to be able to host Robbie, to do a series with Robbie.
Yes.
That is like sort of like, that was one of my goals really of podcasting, was to be like, okay, I have a Robbie Mark series under my fucking belt. Let's see what else I can do. But it was like definitely a milestone.
Yeah, for all you guys that don't know out there, Robbie Marks, that dude knows a lot, and he researches himself, and he is a wealth of knowledge from different aspects. And so listening to him, the Solomon's Temple series and all that, it's incredible. And yeah, we all play off each other like little tennis rackets, hitting balls back and forth. Oh, we bring a little piece of gold to the table to inspire the other ones, and it's been really incredible. And then through that meeting Thrash, we're in the same town. We're now meeting up. We're hanging out. We're doing stuff. And the stuff that's coming out of our research is just every rock we kick over has a little arrow on which way to point, where to go next. So it's all been very magical, the whole experience.
I'm so glad to hear that you and Thrash have linked up, and you better tell him, Mike, to come on my show.
Oh, he will. Yeah, for sure. And actually, he's getting his show started. He's had it in the works for a long time, but you've got to get, streaming server, space, which costs money, all that stuff, but it's coming into work. So I'll be helping him on his series, and the stuff he's found is incredible. So and through these podcasts, just getting ready for him. I mean, just the land that I stand on was really what brought me here. And just the things that we found through it with the Space Force and these secret societies, the Knights Templar, all that. So it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be a fun adventure.
Well, I saw that Thrash had actually made a Twitter account. He was notoriously like not on Twitter. And so I saw he made a show account. So that's really great. So now, yeah, so I will definitely support you guys when you come out if you want it. I don't know, but I'll
absolutely, man.
And I'm really excited about it, to be honest, because I've always thought Thrash should just do like a podcast, and or be more regular on Rejects or whatever. But I'm glad that it it's happening, and he's going to be a part of it. I'm excited, and so hopefully he'll come on, and then I can, I'll have a more collective. Teresa's been on my show, Robbie's been on my show, Nick's been on my show, you've been on my show, BD's been on my show. BD's actually, we have a great episode, her and I. It was like amazing. It was like the craziest like hurricane. I live on the coast, but I live in like north. So it's was like crazy ice hurricane, like literal. like meteor shower almost like size. And she was telling me about, we were talking about asteroids. How fucking weird is that?
Oh, I feel it, man. No, I love that. I love the series that she did with the asteroids because, and that's another thing, these planetary bodies, I mean, the alignments that have happened, I mean, everyone can feel it, everyone can see it. Just since that eclipse happened, the strange amount of alignments, I mean, they've been waiting for this time for hundreds of years. They knew the planets were going to sync up like this in 2020, and then we're having another round right now.
Mm-hmm.
And no, it's uncanny when you look at all that. And see, and that's another part that I kind of have a blind spot to. So I love listening to her explain that stuff.
So I'm not an astrologer either, Michael, so it doesn't really matter to me. I mean, in terms of, like, I'm in the same sort of level as you. So for me, it's like that. I find it interesting. I do understand tantric astrology to a degree, and maybe Kabbalistic, like Sefer Yetziratic astrology to a degree, but I'm not, like, I don't look at a chart every day, and I don't look at other people's charts for money, and, like, do you know what I mean? If like that transforms, like, that's a practical knowledge that you're using all the time. Mine is much more like, oh, the Sephira are like interconnected in this way, or like when Nick and I talked about like having magical experiences and like how you can sort of see the colors, see the densities, see different deities, and you and I talked about this too. And so that's really how I think of it. But I think in some ways, this might be a controversial take, but I think in some ways it actually gives you a stronger basis for relating those knowledges, because it becomes not just practical, but it actually becomes like a part of like your experience, like something that you're relating that you had internally or like in another place, you could say.
Yeah, marker on time.
Why don't you tell me, since like, I'm not that oh, and I do want to say shout out to your solar temple episode, and I said this pre-recording, but it was a great episode that was on Rejects, and I think Thrash was on it with you, and it was a couple other people, and it was great. And so that actually, I don't know, you don't know this, but that series made me really think about magic in a different way, because the whole, I guess, spoiler alert, but the punchline of that, even that first part of that the series, the guy taped sparklers, like some kind of like electric neon sparking thing, to the end of his sword, like a plug-in 1980s like Euro plug-in.
Prop.
A prop.
Yeah.
A glow. He made a glow in the dark like sparkle sword.
Yeah. Yeah, and they had holograms. They had a hologram to show the ascended masters in the grotto, in their secret temple.
And people believed it. Rich people.
Yep.
Smart people. People with like a very advanced degrees, supposedly.
Yeah, the cream of the crop, and not just in the country they're at. I mean, that country is responsible for almost a huge percentage of banking in the world. I mean, the Swiss, and it's neutral, and so it's espionage land. So that whole story is very interesting, But yeah, you're right. It was completely, stage magic, and they had these people sign over all their money, deeds to lands, oil rights, all that.
The thing that's crazy about it isn't just that they were rich, isn't just that they were supposedly educated. It's that they believed it. They really believed it. Like, they believed it. Like, they saw it and they were like, this isn't bullshit at all. We believe what this guy is doing. And the guy seemed to know about magic, like real magic. I'm not talking about magic, K magic. And so I don't fully understand, like, I'm sure I have fringe beliefs. I'm sure people find, like, I know my Aeon of the Daughter series has been a little contentious among some people, but I at least relay it as a speculative ontology. I say you can take it as fiction or metafiction, or you can take it as real or not real. Doesn't really offend me. It's just like an idea. So I don't fundamentally understand how you can fully invest yourself into like what is like. And it was very obvious to me, like fake.
I know. And when you look at the pictures of the guy, he looks ridiculous. I mean,
Cardboard.
But I think he might have had a piece of something real. I mean, you have something that you can show them, something, and I mean, it was a lot of sex rituals. And so,
yeah, well, that is a great way to sort of open that gate.
You're right.
I'm not saying do that. I'm not telling anyone to do that. I don't agree with doing that. And I think most people do it wrong. But yeah, I think it's real to a degree.
Yeah, there's something going on there. I mean, the fact that all these secret societies have these sorts of rituals, and they pretty nasty, and they're pretty similar, some of them, it's like, what are they getting at? Why does that repeat?
So they're like sorry, Mike, go ahead. I'm gonna apologize.
Oh, you're good. No, but it does seem like, okay, there's a thing they're going for here, and why is it the same? You know what I mean? And with Tantra, Kundalini, all that, there's I mean, sex is how life is created.
Absolutely. Love is the cause of knowledge. 100%. Lamed mem delets. I mean, it's like that's path 22. I mean, that's it. It's double K.
22 stairs to get to the grottos.
Because love is the cause of knowledge, but it depends on what kind of love. Right? Sex is just one kind of love. Sex doesn't even mean love. And so, so think a lot of Western esotericism, what has become clearer and clearer to me, not just in my own work, but what other people have done, what other people are talking about. But a lot of Western magic really comes down to, I would say, Tantra, but like Tantra for retards almost. It's like, we have the idea of karma mudra, which is love, like sexual yogas. Okay. It's not like anything like how they're doing it. I don't practice that. And even in the more transgressive, like Indian tantras, the ritual prescriptions are with such specificity, such timing, and such everything is because you've already gained so much experience doing rituals up to this point. So you're basically a Rapuja master, a ritual master. You're in tune. Like everything is working for you at the same time. Like you can hear, we would say in Buddhism, like the wheel of time, you can hear it clicking inside your mind. So that's what they're doing. Those are people who are like so above me. Those are people who are so above other people doing sex magic. That's not for me. So for me, it's not even like, I'm like, it's if you can do that, great. If you can like go up with the Dakinis and you can just instantly go up and like call them down, that's great. It's just that we live in Normie land, and like practically sex magic's very dangerous.
Yes, very. And you're gonna need yourself a cult to make that happen.
And sex is like a true dual-edged sword because it is both blissful, so bliss consciousness, also can be of low consciousness, like desire consciousness.
Yeah.
So there's something that's useful metaphysically in sex, but then there's also something that's really not useful metaphysically in sex, almost the opposite, in fact. And so I think that the reality is like if we're in this time, I don't think it's necessarily useful to practice karma mudra in these like non-traditional kinds of ways, because even when you're looking at it in traditional narrative, it was so uncommon that everything was aligned perfectly, or the usually men were not able to restrain themselves. That's a frequent story I read, is that men were not able to actually complete the real sadhana. And so they would just use sex magic as an excuse to sort of get off rather than be like, yeah, this is actually ritual. This is actually like serious shit. Like we can't screw up, really.
Well, it's that whole thing, and something you can play into a lot, the consort. And that's the play of the male and female, the 0 and the 1. You know what I mean? The positive and negative, the Twin Peaks.
That's
you know
right.
what I mean?
That's right. R.I.P.
The alchemical wedding, it's, but I think it's something sacred. You know what I mean? That's my thing with it. I don't think you need to play with it.
No, I don't think you do either. And I think that it actually is much more harmful to do it. And I think there's a reason why cults rely on sexuality, rely on not just sexuality, but sexual domination. That's like a very like I remember reading those Left Hand Path grimoires when I was like in my early teens. I probably shouldn't have been reading them, but it is what it is now. And so they would always be like, imagine like sexually violating or dominating your enemy. And I'm sure from your experiences, like life experiences, sometimes that kind of energy can actually be in some ways useful in a I'm talking strictly metaphysical sense, obviously. But I'm just saying in a metaphysical sense, that kind of like overpowering, sort of like magnetizing power. It's like magnetizing and destroying at the same time. It's black and red at the same time. So
it's the alpha. Having dogs, I can tell you, you have to be alpha. You have to be top dog. Especially if you have dangerous dogs. You know what I mean? Like all my dogs were cast out, so big dogs and a pit bull. There has to be a domination, and when they feel out who's top dog to lead the pack, and even the female dog, if that's top dog, it will mount the male dogs as a sign of alpha. It's a pack dynamic. There's an energy to it. It's funny, like if you have a new dog in the pack, there'll be a feeling out stage where, you know what I mean?
That's a great example, Mike, and very also metaphysical because obviously we talked about this, like dogs, the moon god, dogs and the secret god of knowledge, like Gath, or I mean, it's also related to Yesod, but it's also related to Dath. There's also some magicians say there's a mercurial element, like a Thoth element. I think that the kind of where Thoth would be is not actually at Mercury or Hod. I actually think he's at the moon. He's pulling the lightning to the moon. He's affixing it there rather than he's not there generating. I know that's probably like way overly, but I think that the moon is much more significant. Like you were saying, like the alchemical wedding, like the marriage between the sun and the moon. You could say the son and the daughter. This is a very important idea for me personally, for the show, for like my show, for like an idea that I've been working on for like over 3 years now, like as like a series that I'm going to release. And I think that that's really where it is. It's in that alchemical marriage, that kind of like perfection. And so that's why you're right in that sex should not be used as an explicit theurgic tool, especially like in a setting where you're under duress or in like any kind of religious or spiritual thing. Probably best not to have sex, dude. Like that's between you and your partner. That's not, don't do that. Don't do that in a religious setting.
Yeah, just some things are popping up in my head when you're talking about, the hermetics of it and the moon and all of that. I think there's almost a unifying field to the whole thing if you go with the computation 0 and 1 and you attribute the female, the returning, to the 0 and the male to the 1.
Yes.
And the hermetics of it. So Nikola Tesla is my guy, and the more I've researched about his experiments out here, the more it all kind of came together as far as this eternal fire and what spirit is and the way things are moving. And it's the dialectic. It's the play of the two.
Yes.
you know, even if you go down to a single atom, it's not in place. It's moving from the right to the left in an oscillation.
Yes. Oscillation. That's the
And
perfect
it's the
word.
dialectic. So that's vibration all the way down. And so what Nikola Tesla was doing, it's the primordial mounds. It's Mount Meru. The high points is where the ions choose to go. Just like if you brought your finger close to one of those Tesla playthings with the little zappies coming out of it, it will go to the closest point. Just like the ionosphere, the positively charged part of the Earth, seeks the negative charge in the high points. And that was another thing that, you know, the mountains, the fire on the mountain, Apollo, all of that. It's the keystone, the high point.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I don't know if you know this. Well, you mentioned that I do post a lot about the consort, because I think that there's the two problems. So we discussed one of them, which is really important, actually. I wish more people would discuss that sex doesn't even have to be part of Tantra. Like you could be a great Tantrika and not ever practice sex.
Right.
That's the truth. Like it's just one limb of yoga. People get so caught up in like these low consciousness kind of practices that they lose sight of the whole greater path.
Yeah, the big picture.
Yeah, exactly. Anyways, I'm sorry. That's all we discussed that. Okay, sex. But then there's number two, which is the transgenderism thing. I'm not saying it to be an edgelord, but the reality is like if you're really having fundamentally magical experiences, like really true experiences, it's not a hermaphroditic energy in my opinion. My experiences, I've never felt that. Tantra doesn't describe it as that. It's very clear. Sometimes a god is a bachelor, and I'm not talking about gods as in like some like person in the sky. You know this, Mike. I'm very like zero. Like I'm very into that negative Sephira, that negative space. Like God is emptiness. So for me, just because they appear as a shell or a husk, that doesn't mean that it's the deity. So that's just for me. Obviously, I'm Buddhist, so that's how I prefer, right? Or that's what I think. And so, for me, Tantra doesn't explain it like that. I didn't think of that when I had my first magical experience. I never was like, oh my God, this energy is so hermaphroditic. Like, whoa. Like, I want to like transition right now. I never thought that in my life. So I'm just saying that I think there's a quality that people mistake for that. And I think that's why I always say the consort resolves all paradox, because it's the plus and the alpha. It's the one and the one, but then it's also two. So it's not both contained in one vessel. It's your, if you want to even think of it in like a very Indian way, you could say it's your mind and your breath existing in consort at the same time. Like your mind is perceptive of every molecule of your breath. That's can be one layer of meaning, right? But yes, it can also refer to like a sky witch or a sky dancer consort, as you and I have talked about a lot. So I just think it's interesting. Like, different people will have different conceptual ideas, but because I like to think of things in a more inner way, like more mental or secret way, which is more like supernatural, I guess. That's never what I experienced, because the primordial consort, she's non-generative, but she's not a hermaphrodite. The Ganesh, the elephant head, he's not a hermaphrodite. He's sometimes a bachelor, and sometimes he has a harem of 3 wives who all have very like important names like Buddhi, Riddhi, and Siddhi. So speech, accomplishment, and like it's like wish fulfillment kind of thing. So I think
that's almost like energy, frequency, and vibration.
yes, you totally get
almost
it.
Like
That's exactly what it is. Because what is Ganesh? Like, what is he outside of the deity? He literally is aggregate. That's what his idea is. He's kind of like the composite of earth with air. Air is all 4 elements really in one element. And then there's also earth, which is like the kind of, you could say this is negative density of air because it has more mass.
Yep. negatively
So
charged too.
that's right.
Literally.
Exactly. See, you totally get it. So that's what he is. So people, normie people will be like, oh, I use Ganesh to like unblock obstacles for myself. But if you're like a tantric, you understand that Ganesh, he can remove obstacles, but he takes of that aggregation and he actually places it in another place. He puts it somewhere else. You still have to confront it later on because energy, like there's that whole like principle of energy dynamics that's never fully destroy something until you fully destroy it. But
And I love Ganesh's symbol. So he's between two, right? He's between two. So it's just like Masonic tracing boards, just like all that. It's insane. Am I correct? The Ganesh is the elephant guy here, right?
yeah, he's the elephant god, and he usually has a black and white floor in the older depictions. So it's clear that he is kind of like a Baphometic, somewhat figure, and clearly in Tantra he is, because he is kind of like the gate guardian. But we have a lot of gate guardians. This is the thing. The Templars seem to focus on that particular figure. We have a figure for the outer gate, we have a figure for the inner gate, and we have a figure for the seeker gate, and they're all different. And what each gate contains are all different. And so there are 3 layers right there. But what if I told you we live on some people say we live on an 8-petaled lotus. That is also the breast of the fallen goddess. Some people say we live on Mount Meru or the island surrounding that, Jambudvipa, which is also very nipple shaped. Just saying. And so it doesn't really matter what I think, but the point is he is the paths. So that's how I think of it. Like when I did the series with Lee, that's what I said. Ganesh is the guardian of the 32 paths, and he even has 32 different forms. So it fits perfectly. You can see there's like a one-to-one hermeneutic between Kabbalah, at least that kind of Kabbalah, and him. I know I took us on a little bit of a
No, it's okay.
but I do want to ask you, Mike, about Black Lodges because you are kind of the specialist. And so I'm going to ask you what that is and
Okay.
like how do they operate in
So
like in like politics, in the world stage, all of that. Like just give your broadest explanation.
yes. So this is a great rabbit hole, and I've now the basic answer. It starts with the Saturnian lodges in Germany. Okay, now they took on the black colors. This is where I think it started originally. Now they take on the black colors, and it's alchemical, right? So they're necrosis. They're the Nigredo. They take on the putrefaction. So they become sort of death, right? And when you go into some of their understandings, they have a metaphysical Black Lodge as far as egregores that they have for the lodge. Now, these are like ascended masters of their own, right? But they're truly not. They believe some funky stuff. Now, that's where it originates. And some of these different lodges, this plays into the Illuminati, okay? And this plays into other Freemasonic orders that took on the black coat, okay? And even with Nick and Lisa doing the Pope, the infiltration into the Vatican, now they take on the charcoal. They are the charcoal, right? So you can see that there will be these infiltrating factions that take on these black robes. Doesn't mean every group that wears black robes necessarily does that, but they are truly believing in that they have ascended master Black Lodge that goes through time. So these guys believe that time is the thing to hack, time is the thing to cheat. And these Black Lodges start popping up, okay, and they always take on the Teutonic Knights. Do you know who the Teutonic Knights are?
Sorry, Mike. No, actually, why don't you explain, if you don't mind, explain that to me? I'm sure I've heard of them, but I'm into weird politics, but I'm not necessarily like the best conspiracy guy.
Right. So, well, the Teutonic Knights, they're German knights sworn to Jerusalem to defend the Catholic faith way long when the Holy Roman Empire was around. Now, the Templars got in trouble and they turned into the Hospitallers and all that and kind of went underground, right? But these guys never went away. So another facet of these Black Lodges comes from them. Now, Adolf Hitler and the Nazis were all about the Teutonic Knights. And seems like they use runes, some of them. It's this Teutonic magic that they use. But it is known sometimes that they will infiltrate groups and sort of take them over. Like in the Vatican with this charcoal, this group of charcoaled bishops or whatever that were going in there. That's what I believe anyways with them. And then with the Solar Temple, some of the higher orders in the Solar Temple, the guys that were making the decisions were part of this group called the Brotherhood of something. Anyways, but when you hear Brotherhood, that can lead into a Black Lodge sometimes. So,
It's also interesting. I read this Mike Laquino text. It's not even a full book. It's more of just like a pamphlet. It's called the Onyx Tablets. And so I was actually preparing to do an episode that I maybe will have recorded by the time this comes out. But on like the left-hand path and the order of the trapezoid. But in the Onyx Temple stuff, it does seem to me, or the Onyx Tablet, excuse me, not Onyx Temple, but the Onyx Tablet stuff seems very clear to me, like what you're talking about. There's a through line. There's a through line for this sinister black flame alchemy, this kind of like left-hand path alchemy, this kind of like Temple of the Black Sun, Temple of Blood. Like there's like an interrelationship. There's like the red and the black, and like it's very transgressive. I'm not totally against transgression in a ritual context, just simply because I'm tantric and I understand those things in a different way. But I also understand, like, for us, if you do not cultivate bodhicitta or loving kindness, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Like, nothing that you can do with magic, nothing, no powers you can receive, no siddhas, no knowledge, nothing. It's all meaningless without that. So if you're not, that's like it's like love. Like, love is a cause of knowledge. Like, that's the whole thing. If you do not have that as a foundational keystone, you could even say, then you have nothing.
well, and when you read into, so I read a book on the Fraternitas Saturnus recently, and that's the whole thing. Is it's love under will. You're not supposed to actually love. It's a selfish love. So they teach of a different type of love, but they
Right.
still hold it in the highest regard. But it is, and there's levels to the stuff. There's always
Right.
levels to this. So some of these groups, now, if you're just a normal person messing around with this stuff, you're just messing around with the stuff, with the transgression, all that. But if you're an elite and you're in one of these Black Lodges, that's a whole different thing, because they have abilities to actually do harm. And in the past, I believe that, the Nazis, if they're taking on the Teutonic Knights emblem and taking on that energy, you can see it can be very bad.
I do think, absolutely. You're totally right. I'm not even praising them in any way. I'm just saying these people exist. There are people that believe. You don't have to believe that. I don't believe this, but no one listening has to believe this. But there are people who believe that by using the left-hand path practices, they can actually rectify the world. So some left-hand path people believe they want to destroy it, and some people believe that they can rectify it. And it's all factionalization. It's like a lot of people use the spider metaphor. I'm not that fond of that myself, but okay, it makes sense. So there's like all these threads of fate, which we would just call karma. That's literally what that is. It's just karma. So yeah, those complications exist. That's why you shouldn't fuck it up. Don't play around too much, because you don't know what you're going to affect. And you also, it's predominantly about yourself, but it's also about how much you affect other people. Like that actually matters. And once you start to gain the
100%.
higher knowledge, you start to realize that you are connected in these very interesting ways to other people. And so I think that you see this is that a lot of like left-hand path people mellow as they age.
Yeah,
And
some
you have
go
like,
straight to God.
yeah. And we're like, even like Zena LeVay, like she gets brought up a lot by people that I know just because she became like a serious tantric Buddhist. Like serious. She did a 5-year retreat. It's a very intense, like you're not, it's not like, oh, fun, like living at the monastery, like fun. No, it's like, it's very uncomfortable. You confront like all your own darkness, all your own bullshit, all your own desire. And it's not like it goes away. It actually increases up until you accomplish the sadhana. So you have to contend with all that. So if you're not serious about it, then there's, you're never going to complete it. And you're just going to like walk away a little crazier.
Everybody's on their own path. You know what I mean? And some people want to go deeper. I truly kind of believe I'm on the shamanistic path. It started with me just healing myself to not be a drug addict. But to delve into the mysteries of, who am I? What do I want to do? And have a better relationship with God. And that's what, all this stuff is for me, is to find deeper meanings and deeper reasons for all this,
This is the thing, Mike, is that like I'm a Buddhist, so I'm very flippant about reality in that way, probably sometimes, like where I'm like, you're like, what is the deeper meaning? Like, yeah, it's like we're here, we're gonna do something, we're gonna pray, we're gonna do sadhana, whatever that is, we're gonna do magic. We're gonna get to where we want to go. But I think that does take, like you're alluding to it, like it takes this kind of introspection and like self-questioning. Like, where do you want to go? Do you want to go full left-hand path? Because that doesn't result in the nicest of life. Or do you want to go full right-hand path? Those people are just as nuts, let's be honest. There has to be like a medium between the two.
Yeah. And I mean, and if you're an artist, I think this is when it's the most useful to create, you know what I mean? To get new inspiration. Yeah. And we pull, like you said, we pull it out of each other. I feel like there's a cornucopia and we could just keep pulling things out forever. And I bet we do. And I wonder in a few years where it would all be, because, it seems like it's getting better. It seems like everybody's, developing in their own right. And
that's what it's all about. It's all about like psychic. We're like living in the pink cray. Like, it's true. Like I believe it. So I'm not going to like, I always like joke about it. Like, yeah, like Anna the daughter, like pink cray. It's like my joke, but it's not really a joke. Like I actually believe it. I think it's all possible.
I kept getting my dogs, you know what I mean? I have a little stone wheel outside and I kept getting pink, the signal pink. They kept bringing the pink toy and dropping it on the pink stones right before we were doing our first podcast. I'm like, okay, I guess the color's pink.
It's so weird because I don't even like pink as a like it's not like I wear only black. Like totally one of those people, like I like black. That's what I wear. That's it. Like I'm not a pink like that. Nothing in my life is like pink. But I do like to garden. There's something really interesting about flowers that produce pink flowers. It's not as common as people think, actually. Like what true pink is like not, it's closer to white. It's actually cool color. It's like a miracle almost. Like when you see what pink is, it gives contour to the corona, to the crown inside of it. It lets truth sort of like rise above the peak. So in that way, it's both decoherent and coherent. It's not coherent in and of itself. So I just think that that's so beautiful. That's like the crystal matrix. It's like, David Icke, he says like, oh, we're in the Saturn moon matrix. But like, yeah, we're also in the diamond matrix. We're also like in the thunder matrix. Like it's just, it's passive light all interacting and like sparks of splendor, like going all over. So it doesn't, just to have that like little piece of the truth grow in front of you and turn into something. There's something like, just like podcasting, you're planting a seed, a physical seed, and it turns into something that expands more greatly than itself. It is the greatest expression of Jupiter. It's the greatest expression of loving kindness, because beneath the Greek layer, I know you're more familiar with the Greek layer, Mike, but you know that I'm not. But beneath the Greek layer, there is this deeper idea of loving kindness and mercy. And so that's what the ocean is. It's like we draw infinitely from it. And we're that potential. Sorry, I didn't.
Yeah. Well, no, and that goes into, again, I'm taking it back to Tesla. But the ions is literally with the electrical charge that is all of us, is all one thing. And it goes into the Ark of the Covenant. The Spirit of God hovers above the box in the thing of clouds. You know what I mean? Goes into the orgone energy. But I truly believe that it is all one. That if you zapped out, you go straight into the earth and be with it all. And then that's bloom back out again.
It's like perfect, like rebirth situation. It's exactly what it is. Maybe you go to a highland or pure land. It's usually not a highland. I'm a little high, but on weed only. You just clarify. But if you go to a pure land, or maybe you just like maybe you become a fish. Maybe you become a fish for 1,000 lifetimes, but you'd never know, because it's a flash of light. It's just a spark, in the clouds. It's like it's diamond thunder. It's just it's gone.
And that's I think what the hermaphroditic thing was supposed to be. Okay. And it's just like with this remote viewing in the gateway, right? You got between the hemispheres of the brain, it's an oscillation, right? So if you can sync them, it can send out. Now you can move just like alternate current. If you have equal amplitude of negative and positive, it goes down the line like a snake.
Yeah. Well, that's why snakes and ladders. I mean, that even comes from Tantra. You and I talked about this, I think, even in the episode, for our first episode. Like, why use something so magical? Snakes also are very of the energy currents, like you were talking about, like the Melmeru. Melmeru is made up of grids. We square the circle. We square, if you want to say we live on a sphere, if you want to say we live on a half egg or a turtle's back or whatever it is, it's up to us to square those things. We demarcate the grid, but the dragons are kind of the wild energy that's part of like electricity that exists beneath that.
Beneath and above.
That's right.
Because the ionosphere is the positive, and then the earth is negatively charged, and the lightning comes down.
And it can also go back up.
Yeah, actually, doesn't it go up?
Maybe it does often go up.
Yeah. That just made me think of. So, you ever seen an electric motor? Mm-hmm. They're in everything. They're in an Xbox controller. They make the little vibration. It is a wheel, a bearing, right, with bushings, with magnetics all around it. Now, we used to make tattoo guns in the joint with these, right? So you take it apart, you get the little thing, And there's a place where you put a positive charge wire and a negative, right? And you make a little pigtail out of a straightened out spring. You put it on there, put it in a pen, and but if you switch the wires and you accidentally hook the wires up wrong, it'll still spin, but it spins the other way. And sometimes people will make a mistake and wire it that way, and then the motor will go out because it's only designed to spin the one way. I don't know why I thought that, but
no, it's very profound actually, because like a tattoo, it is what? A sigil. It's writing the words. It's not a word, maybe a symbol. And which obviously can be imbued with a lot of meanings. That's what people don't understand. They think that like oh, the Starbucks symbol, that must mean like the, all the 50 things that people say it is. And I'm sure it is those things. But it can also mean like so much more. You can break it down into little components. The color matters. Sometimes you could even say that the color and the shape matter more than the symbol itself. It depends how much meaning you imbue in it, or how much meaning other people can imbue in it, which is like your idea of plus ultra, or like this magnetic kind of wheel bearing.
yeah,
That kind of like the idea too is like things have to always be like a figure 8 inside of us. That's kind of how Buddhism thinks of it. Like the Vajra energy should always ascend and descend at the same time. We should be conscious of it. We should direct it where there's blockages. But generally we don't grasp at it. We just want it to flow clear, flow like clean, right? So the idea is that it should always like come up and come down and sort of like never be fixed. And then I think what happens is, in magical terms, people tend to stay fixed. So just like your example of the tattoo gun, like I'm not saying that the people are intending to miswire them, but like a machine like that is not, they have to stay fixed. That's kind of like what a machine is. That's kind of what technology is. There's something fixed and material about it, but we're actually not a machine. We're biological. So there's something that is both transmutable as well as in flux. We are beings in flux. So I think that also speaks to the hermaphroditic thing. We don't need to be hermaphrodites to be in flux, because we are all liminal beings as we are. Sorry, that's kind of my thesis on it.
no, I love it, man. I love it. And I love that I'm able to explain some of this and talk with some, because a lot of it is, it's breaking the symbolic down, but realizing that, we have the technology and the science, so you can take a look at it and be like, oh my God, there's no way they weren't showing that.
Well, do you think Tesla energy can be revived?
Here's the reason why it can't. It's wrapped up in a lot of dangerous technologies that they are utilizing, including Psywar. So it's literally in the books. This is another thing. Nikola Tesla came to this town to get a natural ley line. So it's like proof of a ley line that we found out here. He was going to send it to New York and then Paris. Okay, so years later, the military moves in and they're utilizing the ionosphere for different things. And they've written about using ions as weapons to be able to zap people. But the implications are that they could make you step out of your body with this stuff. So like Temple of Set actually used some of this technology to get out of body experiences.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. People think it's all about trauma, and yes, that might be but if there is, and he was not just fixated just on degeneracy. I just want to point that, I'm not defending him. I just want to point that out, that we're doing these technological things.
Yeah, it's
much more far-ranging than people really realize or understand.
A big part of Psywar was not just, and all of the MK Ultra stuff was not just to learn how to control minds and program people, but it was to unlock special abilities in the mind as well.
Yes, absolutely. This is so obvious. This is even about Q. Like what that even was. That seemed to be like a selector program for people who were,
Yes.
well, there were multiple. So there was like different streams, just like the gateway program that everybody talks about on Twitter, or the gate program or whatever they call it, where they made people drink pink Kool-Aid. I didn't drink pink Kool-Aid, and I was like very high IQ, but I did do the audio test. But I can just tell you that I'm too anti-authoritarian. If someone was like, drink Kool-Aid, I'd be like, no.
They know that's the whole thing. It was data. And now they know who the Gates kids are on the phones. The phones are telling people exactly what they need to know. So they don't have to tinker as much anymore.
That's right.
They can find these people. The data's there, you know?
Yeah.
They know who's got the special abilities now.
Yeah. And they tailored the timeline for people who are attracted to specific things that you may not even realize are related. That's what I think is interesting, because you have different accounts posting maybe on different timelines, because what is X or Twitter or social media in general, if not different timelines converging? Very plus ultra.
Well, that's another thing. They're definitely monkeying around with stuff. And I do think, I mean, I don't go into all the Mandela effect stuff, but it does seem like there are slight glitches going on. It's hard to deny some of that.
No, I agree with you. I have experienced it myself on several topics. Really weird topics that I should actually know, like the Bruce Lee's, his parents. So for my whole life, I could have sworn that Bruce Lee's dad was Eurasian. But I've come to find out, I even remember like the story of he was, like,
don't tell me he was German.
Actually, his mom was Eurasian, and she was half German Jew.
There it is. And so that is so funny. Everything Mandela effect is German Jewish. Okay. The Bernsteins, that's a German Jewish name.
Yes.
Like, so much of the stuff is actually connected to German stuff.
Weird, actually.
And so here's one of my far out theories with that. Okay. And like, the only way that I realize that the Mandela effect thing, there's no way to know, right? And it all sounds crazy. But when you go into the little Baron Trump stuff and you go into some of the different things that are hinging off of it, and the fact that all the Mandela effect things include German culture, especially German Jewish culture, Bernstein, cornucopias, you name it. It is almost like the first person to invent a time machine might have been a German, and then everything has been screwed up since. They went back and visited the home country. That's why Nuremberg has those ancient pictures of those little orbs in the sky. And that's why all the secret societies are German, because it seems very odd.
I'm on board with you, like to a point, to a degree.
Right. And I'm not even on board with it. It's one of these Flintstone theories, guys.
Totally. Okay, but I'm on board with you. I'm very plus ultra, Mike. I'm flexible in this way. Like, I agree with you that people have curated and crafted the narratives around us. And so when these Mandela effect things happen, I think that a lot of that is things that they want us to think. They like prime people for years in advance, subtly, in different forms of media, to accept certain narrative changes. A narrative change is not necessarily the timeline changing. Because what really is time? Indian religion, especially Buddhism, is really good at answering these questions. Time is a conceptual marker in your mind. It's not even related to the sun or the moon, regardless of whether we have a solar calendar or a lunar calendar. And frankly, we should have both.
Yeah,
certainly. We should have an integrated, like, solar lunar, like, prescription date. That would make so much more sense. People would be a lot more harmonious, I think, if that were true. But
yeah,
regardless,
we'd vibe we'd vibe with the planet. We'd be right up with it.
Well, the sun and moon are special in Tantra because those are, well, in one way of thinking, you say it is the right and left eye of Shiva, or like God as the greatest God that lived. Or you can say that it is where the dragon of the eclipse gazes from the blood ocean. So I know Nick loves this explanation, but that's what sort of what it is. It's because when you have a magical experience, he talked about this, is like you see an eclipse, you see like a crescent moon, and like a sun or moon going into the water. That's often what I've seen. So I'm just relating an experience, and it's also the crown of a lot of Buddhas.
And the Egyptian deities, ancient Sumerian, and the list goes on.
That's right. Because what are they saying? They're saying, like, look behind what is in front of you. We are not the planet. We are not the stars. We are something inside of you, but that is not you. Like, it is. That's right. It's something that you penetrate. It's a place that you go. It's not a place that you go on a starship. It's not a place that you go, and I'd say, I know you and I both love the subterranean, like all the weird base shit, but it's not even like somewhere you go in the earth. It's literally somewhere you can go in your mind. So I just feel like people get it so wrong, and they must be being told, like, yeah, this is like something that you can do by doing all this crazy shit, but you don't really need the crazy shit. You really don't.
Yeah, it's the liminal space, the borderlands, the horizon, the crossroads.
Right.
And it's literally the golden thread that connects it all. Like through the center, like Mario. Like, I love that stuff. And
that's what it is. Like, there's 10 directions in the world. You are the first and the last. When you're speaking, you're saying it like in all the conceptual ways that I would say it, like crossroads. You're the fulcra, you're the axis, you're the middle pillar, you're like the whole tree, you're the atom cadmon. Like, there's so many ways to say it. Like, you have like a bodhisattva consciousness. You have like you're like you're like
high Krishna consciousness.
That's right, or Krishna consciousness, or any of those things. It's like any of that. But people still think it's like some like formula. It's not. Like, yeah, grimoires are great. They're so interesting. They're fucking cool. You can do some interesting little gross object shit with it. Like, gross as in like do gross effects. Like, you need money. Okay, there's a seal for this or this thing. But that's not like a way to live. That's not like a way to orient yourself. That's just knowledge. It's just knowledge in the world, and you can do with it whatever you want.
Yeah, there's a lot of these Netflix shows out there. People think, a bunch of wizards with globes and witches casting spells.
The real people aren't doing the weird shit like that.
Well, and it gets people all freaked out. And a lot of people right now are kind of going on this witch hunt of everything Blavatsky.
Yes, I know.
Which I don't think that's not smart to do at all. No. Blavatsky is not Satan. Like, Blavatsky was a collector of a lot of different knowledge that she had nothing to do with. So that's people are throwing out so much right now, and people are all coming at so much of the stuff with, with fear and all that stuff. And I get it, I get it. When you read Aleister Crowley, it can scare people away from this stuff, but people have to have a little bit more.
Well, even
they need to chill out.
I mean, did he write all his books? I'm not convinced he did. I think it's a pseudo Solomon situation. I've given this exact analogy before. It's like a pseudo Solomon. He, like, a lot of his writing was done by other people in other orders, signed by him, or it was done by like a little team at MI6.
Because Blavatsky was a collector of so many different types of occult
and history. Fighter queen.
Yeah, including Tibetan Buddhism, all that stuff. So
yeah, she knew Tantra. Tons. She was able to take higher level tantric ideas just from the the visuals that she saw in Nepal. I don't even think she spoke to anyone. Very few, maybe a few people told her some things, but I think she was more able to sort of take what she saw and then sort of reconstruct it. Yes, was it deeply imperfect? Was it deeply flawed? Yes.
Yeah.
There's major issues with her work. That doesn't make her the devil. It doesn't make her satanic.
Absolutely not.
And it doesn't even make her not interesting, because sometimes the flaws are actually interesting because then it shows you what not to do.
Exactly. And some bad acolytes bloomed off of her, right? We get that.
Yes.
But
Planted imperfect seeds, malformed, we could say.
But inspired and also brought out a lot of this information to the Western world. So
that's the other thing too. That's the other thing too. People complain about Theosophy and Buddhism, or a lot of Western Buddhists will pretend that there's no Theosophy in Buddhism. I'll tell you, the history of Indonesian Buddhism in contemporary times is full of Theosophy. It's full of Buddhism, and that's official, like state-sanctioned Buddhism, like how Buddhism is practiced in Indonesia today. Not like historical, like wish-wash, like practical matters. Is that, yes, the guy who founded it was a PhD in Theosophy from the University of Utrecht. Yeah, but he was accepted by everyone. The Lamas said he was real. The other, the priest from Sri Lanka said he was real. So who are we to say that he's not real?
exactly. And I mean, the mystery schools and all the secret knowledge, because it resided in mystery schools and it was secret, it had to be brought forward in the modern age, or it would disappear and be forgotten forever.
See, that's the other thing, is that if we live in the pink ray as a theoretical idea, all of this shit has to emerge. Something that I've brought up that Peter Carroll wrote about was about this kind of release of the magic to the masses, the publishing arm of the magicians, the rebel factions, whatever that is, good and bad, right? Like we're saying both Black and White Lodge are both rebel magicians. There's no in there. Sometimes there's some in each. That's what makes it right. Is everybody going to their other order.
Exactly. And they might end up going to the other side at the end, right?
Because it's all about free will. That's the other thing, is that there does come to be a point where free will really matters, and free will, but I just don't think that free will alone is not of the whole of the law. You have to have karma, you have to have will, you have to have bodhicitta, and you also have to have a really important tool, which we were just talking about. You need a tradition that works. Right. You need something that works. You don't need 100 million crystals. I like crystals. I know you like crystals and stones. I know you love the stones out. But yeah, I mean, everybody likes their things. I have my ritual implements. I like my rosary and my kila. I like those things. I'm not saying I'm giving them up, but really, you shouldn't need very much.
You don't need any of it. You just need yourself. As long as you're breathing, you got everything. The other stuff's cool. I certainly love crystals and rocks, fossils and all that.
Well, do you think that's from Colorado? Just like the energy and just like...
Oh my God. There's so many things in the works. We found there's an entire crystal mountain out here.
That's like I've heard about before.
Yeah, in the Utes, this was their sacred mountain that they would get their stones for their medicine wheels. And it's like you can't really get up there because it has mine claims all over it. But this is like this pyramidal shaped mountain out here. And yeah, the stones out here are definitely, if you're out here and you're not into it, what are you doing?
Right. I mean, I agree. I told you I collect volcanic obsidian, like huge pieces, not little small.
Nice.
The like chunks, like fist size. And so, yeah, I mean, I feel like you got to go with what you like live on. If that's where you live, that you can collect obsidian.
Stones from the land.
That's right. That's what's telling you to populate your life. So
You should, you ever think about making those into something? You know, trying your hand
I'll
at
send you
some beads or.
I could if I got one of those specialty drills, you could make like little beads with them and like tumble them. Yeah, you can go there. I'd have them as like, I call it my black dragon. So it's like a snake almost. And it goes the whole length of my office / altar room. So
Nice.
kind of cool.
That obsidian there was so important to early humans. That was our first tools, you know what I mean? Came out of that. So the stones talk to us. And then the spiritual implications of having a blade where you can defend yourself, you can get your meal with it, but it's also a reflection you can see yourself in. It is profound. It's something to behold. It is internal, but it is also something scientific that you can kind of play around with and see. And then it's fractal all the way up. You know what I mean? I love that, dude.
I thought there was a really profound thing you said, because it's something we've actually been even talking about, like amongst my little magician circle, is this idea of Nigredo, like the Black Mountain, how it kind of like burns away the preconceptions. Like there's something useful in destruction, but you don't want to stay fixed in destruction.
No,
you also wanted to give rise to what? The red and the white and the green and the gold and all of that. You want it to like move, as you were even saying this about the wheel. It's about the cycle. It's about the spinning chakra. Things got to keep moving. You got to keep it going.
Aim for the high stuff, baby.
Okay, Mike. Why don't you plug, and I'll make sure to include your link tree and your Twitter in the show notes. And thank you so much for coming on and such short notice. You're a lifelong friend to the show. You're a true saint. I hope you come back, and I hope that you, I promise I'll let you present like one of your actual research topics.
And then so much. I mean, what a ride it's been. This last year has been so much fun. And, you know, we're going to keep going with it. And, you know, I'm be happy to come back anytime. At short notice, whenever, man. Just hit me. If you want to get a hold of me, it's Magic with 2 Ks, Mike with 2 Ks and 2 Es at Twitter or X.com.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Mike, and appreciate it. Have a great weekend, and thank you again. And come on anytime.
Awesome. Thanks.
Hold it! Stay right there. What are you waiting for? Kill them! Kill them both! No, wait a minute. Is it money you're after? I'll give you as much as you want.
May the saints forgive you, because I won't.